If you love playing with follow-up attacks, be prepared for Topaz, a new Kafka for this kind of playstyle. So let's learn how to optimize the hell out of her with Relics, Icons, and much more. Let's go! Topaz is the new Star Rail Queen, and her domain is follow-up attacks. With her talent, Topaz gains the support of her trotter, Nambi, who act as an extra character, constantly attacking with a default of 80 speed. However, Nambi will only strike the target with the Proof of Depth, dealing 150% of Topaz attack as fire damage. When an enemy with Proof of Depth receives a follow-up attack from an ally, Nambi's action is advanced forward by 50%. However, this effect is not activated during Nambi's own action. With Topaz's skill, you can mark who has the Proof of that. Furthermore, it increases the damage received from any follow-up attack by 50%. But Proof of that is a status that only remains on the enemy who most recently was marked. Additionally, if there is no one on the field with the proof, Topaz will randomly inflict it on any opponent. Finally, there is the skill's own damage, which is an attack from Nambi that inflicts fire damage equal to 150% of Topaz attack to the target and counts as a follow-up attack. To complete her kit, there is her ultimate. When used, you enter the state of Windfall Bonanza. While active, Nambi's damage multiplier increased by 150% and crit damage increased by 25%. Also, when enemies with Proof of That are hit by an ally's basic attack, skill or ultimate, Nambi's action is advanced forward by 50%. But Windfall Bonanza ends after Nambi performs 2 attacks. When we look at Topaz kit, all of her actions are connected to Nambi, and this is where you will maximize your damage. Therefore, throughout the battle, your focus will be on achieving the following rotation. First, you use your skill, this way you can activate the Proof of Depth and increase the damage your opponent will receive. Second, you wait for Nambi to perform an attack. Then third, use your ultimate to increase Nambi's damage. Fourth, use your allies to speed up Nambi so that he's fast as possible and consume his stacks. After this, continue using your skill and ultimate, always focusing on optimizing Nambi's damage. Before concluding her kit, it's worth mentioning her technique. Although not completely related to combat, it's quite interesting. To begin, it gives 60 energy to Topaz, ensuring that you have your ultimate available in the first turn after using your skill. Moreover, it has a second use. When activating the technique, Nambi will appear near your character, helping you find basic treasures and trotters. Additionally, after obtaining a victory, it will provide extra credits, up to a maximum of 10k extra credits per day. If you are in the simulated universe, it has a second effect. It will grant cosmic fragments, but also has a small chance of obtaining curios. From her traces, Topaz will receive 22.4% fire damage, 12% crit rate, and 10% max HP. Max HP isn't a vital part of her build, but it will help with a bit more survivability. But from her bonus abilities, you will also obtain Stone's Market, which will give 10 energy when Nambi performs an attack in his enhanced state. It may not seem like much, but it has a significant impact on ensuring a higher uptime for Windfall Bonanza. Also, Financial Turmoil that increased by 15% Topaz and Nambi's damage when dealing with an enemy with fire weakness, and Overdraft that turns Topaz's basic attack into a follow-up attack. Unfortunately, this one has a lot of value as you should focus on using your skill to optimize your damage. Throughout your rotation, 75% of all your damage will come from Nambi's action, whether in his normal or enhanced state. However, your entire kit will in some way impact him. Therefore, it's best to consider what each point invested will bring in return, especially at higher levels that consume so much credit and materials. In this case, let's start by giving a low priority to your basic attack, as it should not be used in your normal rotation. After that, your lowest priority is your ode, which will bring 2.24% increase in your damage. Although it increases Nambi's damage and crit damage, being a temporary state, it just doesn't bring as much benefit when compared to your other options. The talent increases your damage by 2.88% for each point invested. It enhances Nambi's overall damage, making it much more impactful than your ultimate. And finally, your highest priority is your skill, which increases your damage by 3.64 for each point invested. While your skill is used constantly, the thing is, each point invested directly increases your follow-up attack damage, and this has a huge impact on Topaz, as all of her actions count as a follow-up attack. Topaz, although she can provide some buffs, is a hyper carry from the Hunt path, and as such, damage will always be our focus when building her. Like any good hyper carry, you can't escape the need for crit value, attack, and elemental damage. For her main stats, you should aim for crit damage on the body piece. You will need crit rate, but it's easier to obtain in your substats and icons, as your focus is to reach only 50% crit rate. That way, it's way more important to have crit damage on your body piece. For your boots, attack percentage is the best option, with 8% better performance than obtaining speed. However, speed remains a valid alternative. In your planisphere, there is no better option than fire damage. Finally, in your link rope, more attack percentage is preferable. Unfortunately, the option with energy regen isn't enough to be worthwhile. With attack percentage, you have a 14% better performance. In your substats, you should prioritize the basic of a hyper carry: crit, speed, and attack percentage. Now that you know what to look for in your stats, let's talk about the relic sets. Among your best options, you have the most obvious ones, like 4 pieces of Fire Smith of Lava Forging, or sub-combinations like 2 pieces of Fire Smith with 2 pieces of Musketeer of Wild Wheat, or 4 pieces of Musketeer Wild Wheat. Compared to a character with no relic effects, your worst option is 4 pieces of Fire Smith of Lava Forging with 109% performance. But for the best option, it will depend. If you can't reach 124 speed with Musketeer, then the best is to have 2 pieces of Fire Smith with 2 pieces of Musketeer. That way, you have 111% performance. However, if you can reach 124 speed with 4 pieces of Musketeer, it becomes the best relic set, providing 112 performance. For your ornaments, your decision will be much easier. There is no doubt, go for Inertal Soto, especially for its second effect, which offers 15% follow-up damage, as all of Topaz's actions count as follow-ups who have an effect on her entire kit. Moreover, it's not too complicated to obtain it, as you already have 5% naturally, 12% from your traces, and an additional 8% from Inertal Soto. You only need 25%, which can come from your substats or your Lycon. As usual, the most basic and accessible option for a free-to-play player is cruising the Stellar Sea, which is offered in the HUUUGE store. You can also easily reach Supreme Position 5. However, you have several other good options, so it's worth exploring them. For example, a good option among the 4-star icons is Swordblade. It offers 8% damage in S1 for each time you attack an opponent, with the potential of stacking up to 5 times. However, whenever you change targets, the stack will reset. In this case, its S1 performance when changing targets frequently, something common in Memory of Chaos, is 88% of the standard performance. If you upgrade to S5, it will increase the performance to 91%. Its only advantage is when it's used in single target battles, which is quite rare. In these cases, an S5 can reach 120% performance, making it better than a 5-star Lycon. Your other 4-star option is only the Silence Remains, which increase your attack, and if there is few opponents on the field, increase your crit rate. In S1, it has a performance of 90%, and in S5, 93%. The other 4-star options are not very good, so it's better to start looking at the 5-star options. Unfortunately, if you have In the Night, this is definitely not a Lycon for Topaz. It focuses on increasing the damage of her skill and ultimate, which doesn't match with her kit. Your other option is Lit Like the Dead, which offers 30% crit damage right away, and if your skill doesn't do a crit, you get an additional 36% crit rate on your next attack. However, there is a 3-turn cooldown. Its performance is 105%, not worth the investment. Finally, your best option, if money is not a problem, is the Lycon Wearisome Blissful, that is especially made for Topaz. This Lycon offers more crit rate and follow-up damage, but there is also a team-wide buff. Whenever Topaz performs a follow-up attack, she applies the Tank status, which increases the crit damage dealt against that specific opponent. Its performance is really good, reaching 127% when compared to the base performance. Before we begin, I'd like to reinforce that Topaz is a powerhouse even without Eidolons. However, if you still want to know how to min-max to the fullest, let me explain. In her E1, opponents with Proof of Death will receive the Debtor status whenever they receive a follow-up attack while the mark is active. The status increases the crit damage of follow-up attacks inflicted on that specific target by 25%. In her E2, after Numbi takes action and attacks, Topaz regenerates 5 energy. In her E3 and E5, she has her trace levels increased. In her E4, after Nambi's turns begin, Topaz action is advanced forward by 20%. And finally, in her E6, it increased the Windfall Bonanza stacks by 1 and its fire resistance penetration is increased by 10%. Although all these Eidolons are beneficial, the performances will vary greatly. For example, the E1 offers a 16 increase in damage, which can be even higher if your composition includes other characters who perform follow-ups. Her E2 leads to a 6.39% performance increase, as you can use your ultimate a bit more consistently. Her E3 offers a 6.5% increase. Her E4 is one of the most impressive ones, as it indirectly increases Topaz's speed, so it can become another way to generate skill points or consume more of them to increase your damage. For now, in the standard rotation, there is a 20% increase in performance. Her E5 has a 6.9 performance increase, and in the E6, there is another jump in damage, since it allows you to spend more time with your ultimate up, in addition to the resistance penetration, resulting in an 18% increase in performance overall. Compositions for Topaz will depend a lot on how you like to play with her. Her two main options are Hyper Carry or a carry with a sub DPS focused on follow-ups. You have room to add 2 supports and a sustain unit. As always, for sustainability, your best option is Lucha, which offers a vast kit, but it doesn't rule out other good options like Lynx, Gepard or Fushuan. As for your support, your best options are among Asta, Tingyun and Bronya. Tingyun does what she does best, which is buffing damage and attack, but her standout feature is energy recovery. This greatly helps in increasing the uptime of Topaz ultimate. Asta is also interesting both for the increase in attack percentage and the massive speed buff, making Topaz damage even more consistent. Finally, Bronya offers more crit value in addition to speeding up a potentially slower Topaz, but in my opinion, Topaz will perform better with a sub DPS. In this case, it can either be Jing Yuan or Clara, both will benefit greatly from her kit. So there you have it, guys. What do you think about Topaz? Were you lucky enough to get her? Leave it in the comments below, and if you want to get more guides like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, and see you next time.
It's that time again to get busy with it. Best go find your friends and get jiggy with it.